Hello and welcome to the webcast of the undocking and return of Salyut 8's 7th resident crew. Just over 2 weeks ago, the 4-person crew launched and docked to the station. On the 22nd of January, the 4-person crew launched on board the spacecraft, the fully reusable ColumbaR spacecraft named Diligence, and docked with the space station 35 minutes later at the propulsion and docking module. The crew have now been in space for 2 weeks, and during their first day on board the space station, the Crew-6 crew were already on board the station, leading to a handover period lasting approximately 21 hours. The 6th resident crew undocked on the 23rd of January, leaving the 7th resident crew on board the space station to continue performing the work that was done during the residency of the 6th resident crew. Undocking is scheduled for 15:21 Greenwich Mean Time, and the return to Space Launch Complex 46 is expected to take place about 10 to 15 minutes after undocking. During the launch, the crew launched on board the booster known as Balake. After the crew docked to the station, the booster returns to Space Launch Complex 46. However, it suffered an off-nominal re-entry, causing the destruction of one of its 4 main engines. The space agency now believe that this is caused by a steeper than usual re-entry, which led to higher G-forces and higher heat loads on the booster, which prevented the booster from coming back to the Space Center in one piece. Last Sunday, the space agency conducted simulation test flights of the Pisces R1 booster and have concluded that it was safe to successfully deorbit the booster without it being destroyed. The Pisces R1 booster that launched Crew-7 had used a steeper than usual re-entry profile and will now use a shallower profile for future launches or for future landings. We're currently just over 1 minute away from undocking. During the simulator test flights performed last Sunday, the space agency also tested the possibility of a ColumbaR spacecraft being launched on a Pisces Heavy reusable spacecraft booster, or Pisces HR1 booster, which is basically 3 Pisces R1 boosters strapped together. This was done in the event that the Pisces R1 was no longer safe to fly crews to and from the space station, or to the space station. We're currently about 30 seconds away from undocking. After 14 days, 16 hours and 38 minutes docked to the space station, Diligence is now undocked and returning home, leaving the space station vacant once again. The station will remain vacant until it is either deorbited or the possibility of a future crew being launched to the space station. The undocking has happened on schedule at 15:21 Greenwich Mean Time at an altitude of 81,080 metres. That is an altitude of 50.38 statute miles. Diligence and the space station are now travelling at 5,093 miles per hour around Gale, completing approximately 2 orbits per hour. During the crew's stay, they continued the work that was done during the Crew-6 mission, which was done performing experiments, conducting observations of Gale, and studying samples that were collected during the Aquila V and VI missions to Hox and Julia respectively. The crew have been given a go to perform a 183.3 meter per second deorbit burn that will put them on course to land at Space Launch Complex 46, the place where they launched from. We are currently 1 minute away from that deorbit burn, and Diligence is now in the correct orientation not only to perform this deorbit burn but also for re-entry. Diligence now 60 meters away from the space station as it is about to perform the deorbit burn. This burn will last approximately 15 seconds. The deorbit burn is now complete, standing by for re-entry. The landing will be taking place at night. Shortly after the crew's launch, the Space Agency announced that the Pisces R1 booster and all of the other boosters were using liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen for the fuel and oxidizer respectively. So not only are the spacecraft and boosters fully reusable, but the fuel is also clean, therefore causing less pollution to the environment and making the rockets and spacecraft environmentally friendly as well. The ColumbaR spacecraft is named after the constellation ColumbaR. The 20 main engines that the spacecraft uses are called FACT engines or Fate engines, which are named after the brightest star in the constellation. The 4 RCS thrusters or quints, 2 of which are located on one side and 2 located on the opposite side of the spacecraft, are named Wazen thrusters. This is named after the second brightest star in the constellation. Both stars are labelled Alpha and Beta respectively. We are now coming up on re-entry. Hydrazine is used for the RCS fuel, and the same goes for the fuel used in the spacecraft. Similar to the orbital maneuvering system on the space shuttle. Diligence has now re-entered the atmosphere. The crew have now experienced a G-force that is higher than what was achieved during liftoff at 1.5 Gs. We're now coming up on peak deceleration. Maximum G-force experienced during re-entry was 2.537 Gs. Diligence now on a textbook trajectory to Space Launch Complex 46. Standing by for parachute deployment at 8,000 meters. And just to be clear, there are 12 of these parachutes aiding the descent and landing of the nearly 30 metric ton spacecraft. Parachutes deployed, standing by for full deployment shortly. Parachute fully deployed. Crew-7 have successfully landed at Space Launch Complex 46 after 352 hours in space. Or 353 hours in space. 352 of which were spent docked to the Salyut 8 space station. Standing by for touchdown. Landing confirmed. Touchdown confirmed at 15:36 and 09 seconds. 15:36 and 9 seconds Greenwich Mean Time. Crew-7 back at Gale. And now that the 7th resident crew of Salyut 8 have returned home, that concludes this webcast. We hope you have all enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Adios!